Number 1, start with cooperation, be nice. Number 2, be retaliatory. If your opponent harms you, strike back immediately and teach them. Number 3, after someone harms you, be forgiving and keep playing with them in an honorable way.
It's October 2025. Now this video is somewhat inspired by people who've been following me. Some people have been following me for many years, and I do have some new people who've been following me and asking questions. Some people that are new to me have been asking how I'm living really and how did I get here. So I'm just going to kind of recap all this real quick and answer some questions, because perhaps people watching this might have the same questions. So, going back, I've been living out of my vehicle for 10 years, and most of that time being spent in the mountains and remote backcountry areas, and my vehicle could take me there, and it has its challenges, especially with the physical stuff for myself. But the times where I have to, that I am in civilization, I find that much harder. And I've talked about this before. Much harder mentally. But anyway, so that's how I've been living out of my vehicle and trying to survive. I just live day by day, trying to get through and dealing with these new health issues that I've been dealing with. Makes it even more challenging now. And I've shared times that I've been in the hospital in videos, and sharing, even showing some medical reports and everything else with regards to all that. And it's serious, but what are you going to do? Just keep moving forward and trying to find positive things to focus on every day. There's always something positive. So that's how I've been living, and that's how I'm living now out of my vehicle. And my vehicle, over the many years, has become my recording studio as well. And I've noticed, I'm just going to segue for a moment, how there's more and more people living normal lives with a home, recording from their vehicle for some strange reason. It almost seems like it's becoming a fad. But I'm just thinking now, usually when poor people do something, eventually people who are not poor, who have everything, end up copying them for some reason. We see that with food, we see that with clothes. Ripped clothes has become fashionable now. There was a time that was what poor people had to wear. Anyway, now I digress. So that's how I've been living, and my health is not going to be improving. So it is what it is, and again, there's no point of complaining or anything else. Now I have the injuries that I had from Calgary in 2013 that I've been living with since, and this ties into with why I'm living the way I am right now. So I went to Alberta in 2012 and very quickly learned, because I guess looking at my resume and the different things that I've done and everything else, perhaps someone thought that I was still part of that that group, we'll say, and became aware of the sexual abuse trafficking of vulnerable women at a nonprofit organization. And I should have just walked out at that point, but I was trying to rebuild my life after leaving law. And I guess the second mistake I made was opening my mouth, telling Alberta Health Services what I knew at the time. It was supposed to be in confidence, and I got leaked out, and that started my downfall. And then by, I think it was December 2012, there was a false allegation made against me by a female, well, not by her, indirectly. Somebody was using her of something, and also implicated another male co-worker. And now I'm being dragged into this personally. And by this time, I had resigned in November prior to this, and I ended up finalizing my resignation in December of 2012, December 31st. And then I had the opportunity to meet with this female who became central to my story, and began auto-recording secretly conversations to not only vindicate myself, but to gather as much evidence as I could about what was happening there. And before I had an opportunity to do anything with this information, in 2013, May, two now former police officers came to my vehicle and sucker punched me through the window, handcuffed me, put a gun to my head, and beat me to the point where I'm partly disabled for the rest of my life. And then everything went sideways for them, and they were very clear why they were beating me had to do with everything that was going on at the nonprofit organization, keep my mouth shut type of thing. And that really began the demise, because now we have the police, judicial, political corruption behind the destruction of my life. So physically, they left me partly disabled, so I can't even do physical work. They destroyed my personal and professional reputation beyond anything that I could have ever imagined. And I only know what I know. There's more that I'm sure that I don't know. Perhaps I don't need to know. It would just be too much, probably. So that's how I got to this situation here. And I began whistleblowing and exposing not only the sexual abuse trafficking these vulnerable women at this mental health nonprofit organization, but I also ended up exposing police, judicial, political corruption in Alberta. And it wasn't just isolated to Calgary at this point, it just snowballed. And this is not something that I ever set out to do. I never set out to change the world type of thing. It just snowballed. Learned something, opened my mouth, and then it just went way over my head. And so now, with my personal, professional reputation being destroyed, that impacts as well my ability to find any kind of employment. And compounded on top of that, I was wrongfully convicted, falsely convicted, deliberately, of allegedly assaulting a police officer in obstruction, because they needed me convicted after 49 months, believe it or not, as a defense for the lawsuit, which I filed 2 days prior to the limitation period expiring. I didn't expect them to drag it on to see if I was going to sue. They waited to see if I was going to sue or not before they did anything. The fact that I sued, and they need money, for example, to repair some of these injuries. I had to go out of Canada because apparently there was no surgeons that dealt with the specific injuries that I needed surgery for, and that would have been hundreds of thousands of dollars. And they needed me convicted as their defense, because if I was criminally liable, found guilty, that means I caused my own injuries. Bottom line. So there's these wrongful convictions on a criminal record now that I have, which in today's world you need a criminal record even to wash public toilets. And I've tried to find work that I could do, anything, and either my health, my reputation, or these wrongful convictions have basically backed me into this corner. And what's really frustrating for me and my friends is we spent years trying to figure out how to get myself out of this. And my friends that I have talked to, intelligent people, that's just life. So I've tried everything that I could, and have tried everything that I can to improve my life. And I've made it this far because of the kindness and generosity of other people. I wouldn't have made it this far without them. My friends, and even people I don't know. Now I have winter coming up again, and to keep warm. As long as I have fuel in my vehicle, I can keep warm. I have a camper conversion set up inside my vehicle, so there's some comfort. And I do have an auxiliary heater, so I don't have to keep running the engine. I just have to keep that battery charged to run, for example, the heater. And the past bunch of winters have been very, very cold. And not looking forward to another winter. As I'm getting older and my health is not improving, getting harder. But you just overcome, adapt, and move forward. That's all we can do is survive. So when I talk to people about surviving, I practice what I preach. And perhaps, in part, when I see people who don't deserve, for example, getting donations, getting funds for stuff they did to themselves, for example, like with these fake heroes of the so-called Convoy of Freedom, or even wealthy people, politicians, for example, who are billionaires, people are donating millions to them. It's like a kick in the face, because there's tons of people just like me who have sacrificed everything for truth and justice and freedom, for not just ourselves but for everyone. And no one, I shouldn't say no one, pretty much everyone, with the exceptions obviously, don't care. And it's really put me in a position where I've questioned if I have regrets, because nothing I've done benefited me, and nothing that I do now, for example, with my content, benefits me, because I don't tell people what they want to hear. I'm not an echo chamber. And I find it very interesting, things that I've said 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even a few years ago, people are starting to say the same things in their content or in the comment sections that I've been saying for a long time. But I'm the one back then who got blocked, banned, ridiculed, mocked. I've had people wish me taken from life. Believe it or not, I've shown screenshots of that. This is the world we live in. I've had some people over the years say that I'm ahead of the times with what I'm saying. And I've also been told that, whatever it means, that I'm an influencer of influencers. Regardless, nothing I'm doing now is helping me, but I keep making content. One, it makes me feel productive. I'm doing something. I'm offering people something. Hopefully people find value to it. And to keep the truth alive. And that's pretty much it. So hopefully this kind of sums everything up. And if you want to know more details about all these things, and I've always provided a plethora of independent evidence of everything that I've talked about. And a lot of people have vetted me over the years, trying to find discrepancies and stuff, and there is none. And that's what they've concluded. So again, I want to thank everyone for your support, whether it be kind words, which do help, because aside from everything else that I've mentioned, I'm also going through my own personal things in my own mind, just like we all do. And I have friends that talk to me about their problems, which I'm more than happy to listen to and perhaps offer some insight to that as well. And I even have people just reaching out to me that I really don't know, talking to me about their problems. And even in the real world here around me, for example with homeless people, spending time with them, I do what I can. Sometimes all I have is an ear. So I have all these things on top of everything else. I'm not trying to paint myself out to be a saint. I'm not. I'm no one special in this world. And I'm going to close off by saying, you know, a lot of people, for whatever reason, doesn't matter, think that I'm arrogant. A lot of people confuse confidence with arrogance, but I hear that, you know, that I'm arrogant, whatever else. But if they were to ask people that actually know me and have spoken to me and what I actually say about myself, they'll see how wrong they are. Anyway, make it a great day. Find something that you can look at and say, hey, and this brings me joy. You have to find it. It's not hard to find. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.
A third version of the disclosure package, which some of the contents wasn't given to me during the trial. And police profiler made an uninformed conclusion about me, my character, whatever, based only on the former officer's notes. And this report was concluded at 9:10 a.m. the next day, several hours after I was released from the police station. I would have been at the hospital around that time. I'm going to read this line. His actions mimic those of a pedophile grooming a child. It's the first time I read it not too long ago. I'd never seen that before. Somehow, the story goes from raping or sexually assaulting this female, being a co-accused with a male co-worker, but to that. And over the years, I couldn't understand why all four of the lawyers that I had, and the Crown Prosecutor's Office, and everybody that I talked to, everybody, all treated me like I was a piece of shit. Now I know. That person who made that report never talked to me, made this conclusion solely based on, and it's very clear in the whole document, based on what the former officer stated. This is why all these years I've asked and paid people very well to help me, and because this is what they're thinking. An uninformed conclusion based on other uninformed conclusions and assumptions, all based on a lie.
Listen to this and write it down if you can't remember it. You're never going to outgrow warfare. You simply must learn to fight. I hear people say, when is it going to get easier? When you die.